Imagine you are a rice farmer in eastern China. Your fields are flooded. The rice plants are young, fragile, only a few weeks past transplanting, and someone is about to release thousands of ducks directly into your crop. No fences, no supervision, no way to control where the birds go. For most of modern agricultural history, this would have looked like a guaranteed way to destroy your harvest before it even started. And yet, this is exactly what farmers across China have been doing in growing numbers over the last decade, not as an experiment, as a serious response to a problem that modern industrial agriculture has spent the last 50 years quietly creating and is now struggling to solve. Because here is what nobody saw coming. When the ducks are released into the rice fields under the right conditions, the rice does not get destroyed. The rice gets healthier. The pests disappear. The weeds disappear. The soil regenerates. The yields hold steady or improve. And the field stops needing the 4 million tons of pesticides that Chinese agriculture currently consumes every year just to keep functioning. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how this works. Why a method that sounds borderline reckless is actually built on 600 years of agricultural science, and why a growing number of researchers believe this approach may be one of the most realistic answers to the agricultural crisis nobody knows how to fix. If stories like this are what you come here for, hit like and subscribe before we go any further. Let us get into it. The chemical trap modern farming walked into. To understand why ducks in rice fields matter, you need to understand the problem they are solving. Modern agriculture since roughly the 1950s has run on chemistry. Synthetic fertilizers to feed the plants, pesticides to kill the insects, herbicides to remove the weeds. This system did exactly what it was designed to do. Global food production multiplied. A single farmer could produce more food per acre than would have seemed possible a century ago. But the cost has been compounding underneath all of it. Agriculture now accounts for roughly 20 to 25% of global greenhouse gas emissions, most of it from chemical fertilizers and degraded soil. Pesticides also kill the soil microorganisms that maintain natural fertility. Without those microbes, the biological cycles that used to renew the land stop working. The land becomes dependent on external chemical inputs to do the job that living soil used to do for free. According to multiple studies, more than 40% of the world's agricultural land is gradually losing its ability to regenerate. Farmers respond by applying more fertilizer and more chemicals just to maintain the yields they used to achieve with less, which degrades the soil further, which requires even more chemical input next season. It is a trap, and it closes a little tighter every year. For rice specifically, this matters more than for almost any other crop. More than half of the world's population depends on rice as a staple food. When rice ecosystems start to fail, the consequences spread across the entire system that feeds billions of people. China felt this pressure earlier and harder than most other countries, and the answer they found was already there. 600 years old, a system older than most modern countries. The pairing of rice and ducks in flooded paddies is not a recent invention. Agricultural records across East Asia document the practice going back more than 600 years. For most of that history, it was simply how rice was grown. Farmers in southern China, Japan, Vietnam, and Korea release ducks into their paddies as part of the seasonal cycle. Here is the basic logic. Once rice is transplanted into a flooded paddy, the field becomes an ecosystem. Insects move in. Weeds compete for nutrients. Algae blooms in the standing water. The system requires constant intervention to stay productive. Modern agriculture handles that intervention with chemicals. The traditional rice duck model handles it with ducks. A duck released into a flooded paddy spends its days moving through the shallow water, eating whatever moves and whatever grows faster than the rice plants. Insects, larvae, young weeds. Snails. The droppings the ducks produce as they feed become organic fertilizer, distributed evenly across the field as the birds move. And, critically, ducks largely ignore the rice plants once those plants are established enough to stand up on their own. When this system is run correctly, the field maintains itself. Pest outbreaks become rare. Soil fertility holds steady. Yields remain stable across consecutive seasons without synthetic chemical input. This worked at scale across multiple Asian countries for centuries. Then industrial chemistry arrived and replaced it almost everywhere within 2 generations. What is happening now is the careful scientific reintroduction of the same fundamental method, with modern data on what makes it work. How the ducks actually do the work. The first time you see ducks released into a young rice paddy, the instinct is alarm. The plants look fragile. The birds look chaotic. You expect to come back the next morning to a flattened, ruined field. That is not what happens. The ducks ignore the rice almost completely. Rice stalks are tall, fibrous, and uninteresting compared to what is moving in the water around them. Brown plant hoppers, one of the most damaging rice pests in Asia, become an immediate target. Stem borers and leaf hoppers that cause major yield losses in conventional rice farming are eaten as fast as the ducks can find them. Within a few weeks of release, pest populations drop noticeably below what conventional fields experience. The ducks also disrupt the breeding cycles of insects that lay eggs on the water surface. Pesticide spraying often becomes unnecessary entirely. Weeds face the same fate. Duckweed, barnyard grass, and even wild rice seedlings. The plants that compete with cultivated rice for nutrients get consumed at the early stages. Mature weeds are not eaten, but the young plants that would have grown into mature weeds are removed before they get the chance. Underneath all of this, something more subtle is happening. The constant movement of dozens of ducks stirs the water in the upper soil layer. That stirring introduces oxygen into the water column and the top centimeters of mud. Anaerobic conditions that would normally develop in a flooded paddy are interrupted. Rice roots, given access to oxygenated soil, grow deeper and stronger. Many researchers describe this as a form of natural tillage that happens continuously throughout the growing season. And throughout all of it, the duck droppings spread across the field as a continuous source of organic fertilizer, without the runoff into surrounding waterways that synthetic fertilizer application causes in conventional agriculture. The precision required to make it work. What looks like chaos is actually highly controlled. Modern rice duck farming is not the same as just throwing ducks into a paddy and hoping for the best. Centuries of practical experience, combined with decades of research from Chinese and Japanese agricultural institutes, have produced specific parameters that determine whether the system works or fails. Timing of release matters. The ducks have to enter the paddy 2 to 3 weeks after the rice is transplanted. Earlier than that, the seedlings are too fragile and the birds will damage them. Later than that, the pest populations have already established themselves. Density matters. Studies in China and Japan have converged on an optimal range of approximately 150 to 300 ducks per hectare. Fewer ducks than that produces too little biological pressure to replace chemical inputs. More ducks than that clouds the water and stresses the rice root systems. Removal timing matters. When the rice plants enter the panicle initiation stage, when they begin preparing to flower and form grain, the ducks have to be completely withdrawn. Even minor disturbance during this period can reduce the number of grains that form on each plant. Get any of these parameters wrong and the system stops working. Get them right, and the field manages itself for most of the growing season. This is the part that often gets missed. It is not a folk practice that happens to work by accident. It is a precision agricultural method, refined over 6 centuries and now backed by quantitative research. What the numbers actually look like. When farmers convert from chemical-intensive rice farming to the rice duck system, the financial picture changes immediately. In monitored programs across China and Japan, pesticide spending typically drops by 50 to 70%. Chemical fertilizer costs fall by 20 to 40%. Total input costs per hectare can decrease significantly within the first growing season. For small farmers, this matters. Agricultural input prices have been rising for decades. The squeeze between fixed selling prices and rising input costs is one of the primary forces driving smaller farms out of business globally. But the cost reduction is only part of the picture. Rice produced in rice duck systems is typically classified as ecological rice or low-chemical rice. In Asian markets, this rice can sell at premiums of 10 to 30% above conventionally grown rice. Consumers, given a credible certification of how the rice was grown, are willing to pay more. And then there are the ducks themselves. The flock that worked the field all season is not just a tool, it is a product. The ducks grow throughout the season feeding on natural food sources, requiring minimal commercial feed and almost no antibiotics. At the end of the cycle, farmers can sell the duck meat or the eggs as a separate revenue stream entirely. In many operating rice duck systems, the income from ducks alone offsets a substantial portion of the total rice production cost. What the field looks like one season later. The most striking effect of the rice duck system is what happens to the field itself over consecutive seasons. Within the first season of withdrawing chemical inputs, observable changes appear. The water in the paddies becomes clearer as algae populations stabilize. The smell of anaerobic decay that hangs over heavily fertilized fields disappears, and the species that conventional rice farming had pushed out start to return. Beneficial insects show up first, then frogs, small fish in the irrigation channels, dragonflies, water birds, both the working ducks and others that arrive on their own. The rice paddy stops functioning like a sterile, chemical-dependent production line and starts functioning like a living ecosystem. Studies of rice duck systems have also recorded a measurable drop in methane emissions, on the order of 20 to 30% compared to conventional flooded rice farming. The continuous movement of the ducks disrupts the anaerobic conditions in the soil that produce methane. Rice farming is one of the largest agricultural sources of methane globally. A reduction of that scale, applied across the world's rice-growing regions, would make a meaningful contribution to climate mitigation. This is the part that elevates the rice duck system from a clever farming method into something more significant. It is not just less harmful agriculture, it is regenerative agriculture. The soil rebuilds, the water clears, the biology returns. The field becomes more productive over time, not less. Why this is not a universal answer. It would be misleading to present the rice duck system as a complete solution that should replace conventional agriculture everywhere. It cannot. The system requires precise farming knowledge. Mistakes in release timing, flock density, water management, or removal timing can quickly turn the biological advantages into production losses. The level of attention required is higher than what a chemical-intensive system demands. Predator threats are real. Snakes, foxes, feral dogs, and birds of prey can cause significant losses if the duck flock is not properly protected. In areas with labor shortages, this becomes a serious operational barrier. Not every ecosystem is suitable. Areas without a stable water supply, fields with sloped terrain, or paddies that have been heavily contaminated by industrial pollution may not provide the biological foundation the system requires. The rice duck system is not a universal formula. It is a precise approach that works in the right conditions, with the right knowledge, applied to the right terrain. But where those conditions exist, and they exist across enormous areas of the rice-growing world, The system delivers results that conventional agriculture is increasingly unable to match. The bigger lesson is the one underneath the specifics. Modern agriculture has spent half a century treating natural systems as obstacles to be overcome with chemistry. The rice duck model demonstrates that some of those systems were not obstacles at all. They were collaborators, working alongside human farmers for centuries before chemistry replaced them. What China is doing right now is not really an innovation, it is a recovery. The future of food production may not lie in more chemistry, more 3-3, more machinery, or more genetic modification. It may lie in remembering what was already known and learning to apply it with the precision that modern science makes possible. If this gave you something to think about, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Turn on notifications because we are tracking more stories at this scale. And here is the question I want you to answer in the comments. Would you pay 10 to 30% more for rice grown in a rice duck system if you knew it had been produced without pesticides and with lower environmental impact? Or do you think most consumers, given the choice at the supermarket, will still go for the cheaper option every time? Drop your honest answer below. I read every single one.